Agile projects are highly dynamic environments, and most often there is no precedence or blueprint to refer. All right. Because of that, estimation techniques in Agile are not as straightforward as estimation techniques in Waterfall. Agile utilizes some peculiar techniques in order to improve the accuracy of its estimates. In this video, we discuss some of those techniques. We begin with a technique called t-shirt sizing. Yes, you got that right. T-shirt sizing. I think that we are all familiar with the ranges or the way t-shirts are sized. We have small, medium, large, extra large, extra, extra large. Yes. Now, t-shirt sizing is a relative estimation technique that is used to determine the degree of complexity existing in a user story that imparts on the time or level of effort that will be required to complete it. So when the team thinks that this particular user story is small or the level of effort required is minimal, then they assign like small to it. When they pick another user story and compare it to the previous user story they indicated as small, and they think that is slightly bigger, then they may assign medium to that user story or large to that user story, just to show the extent to which it varies from the first one that was assigned as small. So that is what we do in t-shirt sizing. We size user stories as small, medium, large, extra, extra large. The next technique we look at is called Fibonacci. Now, Fibonacci is used in many fields to perform different kinds of predictions and estimations. Now, it is used to predict population growth in a particular location. It is used to predict the growth of viruses. Whenever there is a viral outbreak, Fibonacci may be used to predict the exponential increase of that outbreak. Now, in Agile project management, Fibonacci can also be used to estimate for the degree of complexities that exist in user stories. So we say Fibonacci is a scale of exponentially increasing numbers where the next number is a sum total of the previous two numbers. So this is the Fibonacci sequence, okay? We have 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, with each number being a sum total of the previous two numbers. But the question is, why do we do this? What is the reason behind this Fibonacci sequence? Now look at something. Now when you pick this number 1 here, okay, and compare it to the next number, which is the 2 here, okay, now you see that this 2 has been generated because of the sum total of the previous two numbers. So when you compare this 2 to the previous number, which is 1 here, the difference is 1. Okay, I want to show you difference and then perceived difference. The difference is 1. That is a fact. But the perceived difference is that this number here is twice the number there. So when you assign 1 representing the complexity in a particular user story and assign 2 representing the complexity in another user story, now people will perceive that user story as having complexities twice the size of the other user story. That is how they will perceive it. Twice the size, twice as complex as the other user story. Now, let me disrupt this Fibonacci sequence here. Now, you see this 21 here. Let me disrupt it by bringing 22 to become the next number to 21. Okay, on a Fibonacci sequence, 34 comes after 21. Okay, 21, the next number is 34. But I'm disrupting it by introducing 22 to become the next number to 21. Normal integer figures. Now, if you look at this 21 and compare it to the 22 here, the difference between the two is also 1, just like the difference we had between 1 and 2. The difference between 21 and 22 is also 1. But this time around, the perceived difference is not the same. People will not perceive the difference between 22 and 21 as twice the size of the previous number. No, in fact, they are very close. As a matter of fact, people would perceive them as virtually the same in terms of the complexity. Okay, so there is a bit of confusion there, and it will be difficult for people to determine the differences between the two user stories in terms of its complexity. Okay, but by assigning 34 to a user story and 21 to another user story, there is clarity in perceived difference. It's quite clear, and people are able to tell the difference between the two. So as a matter of fact, the difference, or the perceived difference between 21 and 34 is equivalent to the perceived difference between 13 and 21, even though their real number differences actually differ. Okay, but the perceived difference between 21 and 34 is equivalent to the perceived difference between 13 and 21, and is equivalent to the perceived difference between 8 and 13, because that is how the mind reads these kinds of differences. The final technique we look at is called planning poker. Now, planning poker is a consensus-based gamified technique of estimating for the level of effort required to finish a task. Planning poker is a derivative of a wideband delphi technique. So let me talk about the wideband delphi technique. Now, a wideband delphi technique is a group estimation technique whereby the team will discuss the user stories, and then each member of the team will select a value to represent the complexities they perceive for each user story. So their values will be plotted on a chart. So if a particular user story is discussed, they select the values and plot them on a chart. Then the team members will be given the opportunity to explain the reason behind their selection. And then the process is repeated again, okay, until consensus is established. Now, in planning poker, this is how it is performed. Each team member will be given a deck of cards containing numbers. And then when a user story has been discussed in detail, fully, each team member will privately select a value to represent their view on the user story. And then each team member will be asked to reveal their selection at the same time. Team members will reveal their selection at the same time to avoid possible prejudice or bias. Now, if their selections are the same, that becomes the estimate. If they all select the same value, case closed, that becomes the estimate. But if there are differences in their selections, then team members will be allowed to explain what informed their choices, especially those with high and low values. Those with the extreme values will be asked to explain why they assigned those values to the user stories. Once that explanations have been exhausted, the entire process is repeated again until consensus is achieved. All right. For planning poker, even planning can be deferred if they require more information in order to make a proper estimate. They could actually defer it for a later period. Remember, we are still training for your PMP project management certification. Join us for in-person classes in Ghana. Wherever you are in the world, in Africa, Europe, America, you can also join our online sessions. Remember, we have a very strong and effective post-training system to get you to the finish line. Also get in touch if you want to pursue the Professional Scrum Master certification, the Certified Scrum Master, or the Agile Certified Practitioner. Together, we will write that victory song. Thank you very much and see you in the next lesson.